And so everyone else can join, or if someone missed out on whatever we're talking about, they can always go back and check the recording. So I'm going to start now. Hi, everyone. My name is Lynn Moghrabi. I'm a Lamsa ambassador and a second-year psychology pre-med at AUB. So today we're going to be talking about dance movement therapy, and I have a very special guest with me. So Ray, again, if you'd like to formally introduce yourself, please go ahead.
Sure. So every time someone tells me, please introduce yourself, I don't know where to start. Anyway, so I did my undergrad at AUB. I did psychology, then I did my master's in clinical applications of psych in Kingston University in London. And I've been doing a degree in dance movement therapy in parallel. It's my 4th year right now. And I've also co-founded a mental health initiative called Be Brave Beirut that was founded right after the explosion. Not sure if anyone here has heard of it before, but if you have, please do check it out. And Lynn is also a volunteer with us. So that's it in a nutshell.
Thank you, Ray. Okay, so first I'm going to discuss the outline of the talk today, so how it's structured, what we're going to be going over. So first I'm going to give a very brief overview of dance movement therapy, so just a definition of what it is, and of course Ray is going to be going more in depth about everything. Then I'm going to give personal testimonials, so I'm going to talk about my personal experience with dancing and why I wanted to have this talk particularly about dance movement therapy. And then we're going to move on when Ray takes over about how exactly dance movement therapy works, the technicalities of it, what happens in a DMT session. So I'm going to start now with a very brief definition of what dance movement therapy actually is. So the American Dance Therapy Association defines dance movement therapy as the psychotherapeutic use of movement to promote emotional, social, cognitive, and physical integration of the individual for the purpose of improving health and well-being. That's something Ray is going to touch on a bit more in detail, but for now, I'm going to start with a bit of like a personal testimonial about my personal experience with dancing in general. So as I said before, for those who joined in the beginning, I started dancing when I was about 3 years old. And at first it was just a regular extracurricular activity, something that most young girls or even boys do. And for a while, for like the first few years that I was dancing, it was very ordinary, just something that I would do after school, occasionally like once, twice a week. I didn't really have this connection with dance that I developed later on. When I was about 8 years old, my family and I moved back to Lebanon. And so it was a period of a lot of change. I had to adapt to living in a new country. I had to enter a new school, people I didn't know. I didn't have much friends. So it was a period of a lot of change and a lot of instability in my life. But of course, my parents also decided to enroll me in a dance school here in Lebanon. And so for a long time, like when I was still adjusting, and like I said before, I didn't really have a lot of friends. So I came to this new school, new environment. I didn't know anyone, and being a person who already struggled with expressing their emotions, expressing and communicating what they feel, it was really difficult for me to adjust. And so dancing was the only constant thing in my life, the thing that stayed with me from when I was in Dubai till when I came here to Lebanon. So it was very constant for me. And it really helped me with expression. I would feel like I could go to the dance class and I can channel all the emotions that I had bottled up and turn them into the movements, the choreography, express everything I was feeling in these movements. For a very long time, I felt like it was the only way I could communicate without really using words. So I was able to talk without using words, tell stories, express myself. And so it was really a core part of my development. And to add to that, I've also been a very anxious person for Kamen as long as I can remember. And so dancing was also a source of anxiety relief. It calmed me down. It was a place I can go to, my escape. It provided me with like an outlet for everything that was going on. So amidst all the chaos that was going on in my life, I would also depend on dancing, on the class that I would go to let loose, to pour on my frustration. And I would say that it was very crucial for my character development. I felt like it gave me confidence, self-awareness. It allowed me to process what I was feeling in a healthy way. So all in all, my experience with dancing, I would say, was very beneficial for my mental health personally. And I would notice that in the periods where I would stop dancing, my mental health would suffer. And then when I would get back, I would feel like, I'm back to a proper, good, healthy lifestyle, and my mental health would get markedly better in that period. So with that, I would like to say that actually there is a very big distinction between dance and dance movement therapy. So basically in a typical dance class, what you have is the dancers and the instructor or the dance teacher, and the dancers will be learning certain movements or what we call dance steps and combining them to form a certain choreography. So basically, it's just a combination of dance steps that follow through in a choreography, whereas dance movement therapy is using movement to process emotional or behavioral health. But of course, even though they do differ very markedly, there are similarities. So like I said, with my own personal experience, they both help in the development of self-esteem, connecting with others, increasing your confidence and awareness. But obviously the process by which all this occurs differs between the two. Now, a very important question I think a lot of people might have, and I think Ray, you can help with this. So if someone doesn't have any dance experience, so they've never taken a dance class, or they don't do it professionally, or they have no experience with dancing in general, can they still attend a dance movement therapy session?
Let's see a raise of hands. If anyone can answer this question, there's no right or wrong question. We're here to learn. So unmute yourselves, raise your hand. Let us know what the answer is. You can even write it in the chat box. Okay, so Laila says yes. The rest, I want to hear from all of you. Okay. So we have Laila and Anis that said yes. No need for experience. Okay, so the answer is correct. You do not need experience to join a dance therapy session. So Lynn, I want to mention in a recap that what you said is very important about feeling, more aware after a dance session and feeling that you belong somewhere. And it's really helpful for your own mental health because, again, dance is an experience and everyone has their own subjective experience towards it. So it differs based on every person. So let's move on and know what dance therapy is exactly all about. Can I ask you guys please to mute yourselves because there's background noise. Thank you. So a fun fact is DMT, which refers to dance movement therapy, is a very young discipline and it's not over 80 years old. So it was founded, I think, back in if I'm not mistaken, 1978. 78 or 76. And the first dance movement therapist is Marian Chase. I have a couple of quotes that I'll share with you through what she said. And she was the first dance movement therapist who actually worked in a psychiatric department with the ADA, which is the American Dance Movement Therapy Association. And she was working with a new holistic approach to heal people at the psychiatric hospital, with the psychiatric community. And there were wonders. People were healing, people really enjoyed it, and we'll explain the benefits of DMT later on. So DMT, as we said, it's a holistic approach, and it joins the mind, body, and spirit. This is how they're interconnected, so with one another. Exactly how when you go to the gym or you engage in a physical activity, you feel like your body is better, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. So automatically your brain will be sent out like serotonin, dopamine, and other neurotransmitters that bring the happy pill. It's like the happy pill, exactly. So you will feel better about yourselves. So through your senses, you can trick your mind into being better, and then your mind will tell your body in return that you're feeling good. So again, I'm sorry, Lynn, can you go back just for a sec? I think I missed out on something. Let me just double check. Okay, so exactly. Also DMT works yeah, sorry, I don't know why it froze. So exactly, so it changes the body reflex changes in the mind and vice versa. Exactly. So let's move on. So who can read this quote by Marian Chase? Can anyone read it out loud, please? Any volunteers?
Of course. Hi.
Hi.
Dance therapy is based on the spontaneous motor response to the rhythmic musical stimulus.
Okay. So any music lovers, any music fans here? Raise your hands if you can. Okay, so we have a couple, we have a few. Great, so with music comes rhythm, right? So there's like pulsation, there are beats and all, which makes the person want to move. So that's exactly what we work on with dance movement therapy, because music is also very important. The choice of music is important. We can't dance to or move to any type of music. There are specific types of music that we can move to. So it's like a pulsation, it's like a heartbeat. Your heartbeat has a rhythm to it. So we also need rhythm. Our heartbeat is like music. Okay, so let's move on, please. So in general, with dance movement therapy, we work a lot on pulsation, on rhythm, on bouncing, on moving, on feeling the beat. And it stems from the anthropological matrix of primitive dance or primitive expression in dancing, which focuses again on rhythm and exploring the therapeutic potential inherent with our diverse traditions in popular dance. So we can go back to African dancing, for example, like the primitive dance. And I'd like to actually, where's my phone? I want you guys to hear one of the songs that we use during a dance movement therapy session, so you can have an idea of what I mean by rhythm and primitive dancing. So just give me a sec so I can find the music. Okay, let me know if you can hear it. I'm wearing headphones. That voice. Okay, so that's like a small piece from a song. I'll write it down in case you want to listen to it later and if you liked it. Nuguva Kufara. And it's actually a primitive song that we dance to, and it makes you want to move, right? Raise your hand if you agree, and if you don't, that's fine. We all have our own taste. All right, so great. We're all on the same page. So rhythm has a fundamental function as, like we said before, it works on the biological effect, on the psychic, and on the relation organization in general, the body and the mind and the spirit. And on a rhythmic ground, an individual or a group of individuals can become one. So they become in harmony and they dance all together. And it's not about going inwards, it's rather going outwards. So spreading and being connected with the environment around you, with the people around you, rather than focusing on yourself. As Lynn said before, dance is different than dance movement therapy because in dance, you mainly focus on yourself in a group. However, in dance movement therapy, you actually focus on the group rather than yourself to bring a sense of belongingness and sense of community. All right, so let's move on. Are there any questions so far?
I have a small question.
Go ahead.
Is dance movement therapy the same as dance therapy?
So there are different types of dance movement therapy, and they differ based on the approach that you use. Personally, I use the Laban approach. There's the Bartenieff. I mean, I know I'm talking gibberish right now, but there are several sects of dance movement therapy. So I focus on the Laban. That's what I'm getting certified in. However, there's something called dance psychotherapy, which is mostly, they work mostly on the psychotherapeutic part of things. So after every session, they sit down and talk about their personal experiences, their emotions, and they go back to their childhood and personal issues. Through the dance movement therapy certification that I'm pursuing, we don't do that. We mostly work on individuals in a group, and then we prefer not to share their personal experiences with us because that's a different form of approach. I hope I'm making myself clear. You're welcome. Okay, but a very good question. So DMT, so dance movement therapy, is mostly non-verbal. That's what also differs it from dance psychotherapy, because we don't have the verbal part of things. And it mostly works on interactions with others, non-verbally. I think there was a question that I forgot to ask. Sorry, Rudy, I just saw it. Breakdance counts as dancing. It's a type of dance. It's not dance movement therapy. So I'm going to emphasize a bit on movement because I haven't spoken about the movement part yet. So dance, we know, but movement is mostly dancing freely to the sounds or to music in general. You don't have to have music in a session. You can use a tambourine just to play. So the facilitator might be using the tambourine just to make rhythm, and people actually dance around it. So it's like going back to primitive old times. I hope that answers your question. So dance movement therapists, they work with healthcare institutions, hospitals, schools, communities, rehab centers, just like Mary and Chase, like we said at the very beginning. And most patients do have certain types of disorders or are suffering from a disorder, whether they're children, adults, or seniors. So, but we don't only work with hospitals or, mental health institutes, but we also could work with a non-clinical group. So anyone could join in, as we said at first, that you don't have to have any dance experience to join in the DMT groups. It's just dancing is for everyone. Again, it's dancing bodies among other bodies and just enjoying others' company and dancing together.
I have a question for you actually. So like I was saying before, when you were distinguishing between dance and dance movement therapy, I said that usually in a dance class, we're following a certain choreography. So we're learning movements and then combining them into a certain choreography. So my question was, in dance movement therapy, is there a choreography someone's following, or is it more improv, or how does it work exactly?
Okay, great question. So we usually leave the person to dance freely. at the start. So I'm going to show you later on, I'll explain further, but at first of the session, we have like a warm-up. That's very important and crucial, and it takes lots of time. It takes most of the therapy session. So we warm up that way, and then towards the end, we want to close the session and leave people, go back to into their individuality. So that's where we do like a end session, and this is a choreography, a mini choreography that we all do together. So there is a small choreography, but it's not too complex. Anyone can learn it on the spot and just go with the flow and dance it.
Okay, thank you. And just another thing before we move on. So you said a very important thing, I think, when we're in a dance class, we focus a lot on ourselves. But when we're in a dance movement therapy session, we focus a lot on other people, so the others in the group. So how would you say that is like, is there something specific that you do in a dance movement therapy session that helps the person focus on their surroundings more than on what they're doing?
Definitely. Nice, interesting question, because I haven't spoken in details about that. So we try to work as much as we can with eye contact. So when you're dancing by yourself, you're usually standing in lines, let's say. Well, it really differs. It depends on what type of dance you're doing. So it could be in pairs or in rows, and you're not really focusing on the other person. So there isn't any eye contact except with you and the professor if they ever look at you. But in dance movement therapy, there are specific exercises where we encourage eye contact, we encourage touch. That's before COVID happened. So there are lots of exercises that we do to increase that sense of interaction, of community, and so forth.
All right, very nice.
And usually, I wanted to add that in dance movement therapy sessions, we work in pairs or in groups or individually. So there's a mix and not just the individual on their own.
Right, yeah, all right.
Okay, so that's the parabola I was talking about. So the session starts from the beginning, where we open everything up with warm-up sessions. So it's probably sometimes you stand in a circle, and if it's a new session, you try to break the ice and make people included by saying your name. So for example, if the person is sitting next to me, we're standing in a circle, so it's like the domino effect. So I start by introducing myself, and then I say the other person's name right next to me, and then they say their name and then tell their other friend's name, and so forth. So we keep on doing that until we memorize each other's names. So that's also an icebreaker, and just to know that individuals exist in the room and we're not just strangers. So building that sense of connection from the very start of the session. And then in the core, we start building up and working in pairs, and then working in groups, and then towards the conclusion, we can work alone and in groups, and finalize the session with a circle, where we either do a group dance, or we stand in a circle and conclude the session through an exercise. So every session is different. Sometimes we can start by, so as a therapist, a dance movement therapist, I can start by putting instructions. Okay, I'm going to do this, this, and that. But in the session, sometimes you don't follow that rubric that you have. You change a lot, because it really depends on the setting, on the people, on the vibe, on what they're feeling, everyone's feeling. So it's really intuitive. And
yes,
sometimes you have to work on the go. Yeah, exactly. So the goals, it basically promotes participation, like we said, so in pairs or in groups. It builds a sense of community and belongingness, creates social interactions, maybe eye contact too. It develops or increases sense of awareness, very important, also body awareness, especially for patients or clients that have a disorder or are suffering from any disorder. It's also a transformation and a formation of body image. So our bodies are the preliminary social creation. So we create our body image, right? So it's based on society and how they perceive us and how we perceive ourselves in society. It definitely boosts confidence, like you said, Lynn, that you used to join dance classes to boost your self-esteem, confidence. Reintegrating individuals back into group and back into society when they've been isolated or they've been, locked up in an institution or a psychiatric institution, and it builds, most importantly, a connection. So that's another quote that Marion Chase says, body among other bodies. Bodies dance among other bodies, and that's the sense of community and formation. So personal testimonial. We have 7 minutes left. I don't know if we'll make it happen. Yeah. So I've been working with children on the spectrum, and I wanted to ask you if we have any psychologists here on board or non-psychologists that know what is autism, what are the symptoms of autism or the traits. Anyone here? Yes, Tracy.
Okay, so do you want me to explain?
You can, yes.
If you want to go by yourself, I'm okay. It's okay.
So let me rephrase. How can you know if a person is autistic, like an autistic child? How can you know that? Or a child with autism, preferably to say that.
Basically, the most common thing with children with autism spectrum disorder, the relationship and the eye contact, the social skills, and everything related to communication.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So they lack.
Yes.
Go ahead.
With the repetitive movements and a specific way for them to play with games and other things.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So they lack eye contact. They don't like physical touch. And this is at least from what I've seen with the children that I used to work with. And I'd like to share with you small videos so you can see what happened in the therapeutic setting. Let me just join from my phone. Just give me a second. Sorry about that. So I've been working with children aged 6 to 9 years old at a therapy center. And I can tell you from the very start, it was so hard working with them.
Recording in progress.
That's not gonna work. Lynn, can you give me access to share my screen from my phone?
Yeah, I need you host from your phone.
Okay, thank you. So let me just figure this out. Actually, I don't know how to share my screen. Can you still see my screen?
No, we can't see it. Sure.
So you guys, sorry. Hey. Okay, is everyone back? Sorry again for ending the meeting by mistake. So I just wanted to show you 2-3 clips of what happened during the session with the children that were on the spectrum. And so that was our very first session.
Hi.
So the very first session was very chaotic. No one was listening to me. Everyone wanted to play on their own. There was no interaction whatsoever. We had assistants with us in the room, and it was really a big mess. So I couldn't control the setting. Nothing was working out. And then throughout the sessions, so I used to give them twice a week sessions of 15 minutes, not longer, because they couldn't handle more than that. And so we worked on several things. And honestly, the results were amazing. They started, actually, I'm going to just show you the video. Okay, so I want to hear from you guys. What did you observe the difference between the first video and the second video? I want to hear your feedback, your thoughts.
Honestly, personally, I've also I haven't worked with someone with autism in a dance context, but I have tried to work with someone with autism in a tutoring context, and I can I remember coming, it was very difficult to get them to listen. So I think the difference I can tell, like in the first video, it was a bit chaotic, like everything was all over the place, but in the second one, it was way more organized. And it seemed like there were more, they were participating more cooperative, I guess. You know, there was something clear going on, and you can see them actually doing something like very clear and calm.
Right. So anyone else before we proceed? Or anyone else wants to add on to what Lynn said? Ghassan, Zena, Tian, Alice, Sasha, Imad, Danielle, Maryam, anyone? You didn't see a difference? Yes, so I really wanted to show you guys an experience, hands-on experience during the session. There is harmony in movement. There is more interaction. But did you notice when Tracy was telling me, we were talking with Tracy before, and we mentioned that there was no physical contact, people would sit on their own and play on their own. So what did you see in the second video? Was it the same thing or was it different?
There definitely was more contact. They were actually holding each other's hands, if I saw properly. So yeah, no, there was, yeah.
Exactly, and that's very important and very crucial to mention, because usually they never hold or physically touch anyone. They don't like it. It's a big no-no for them. So for them to actually hold each other's hands, and then it became a routine. So that's what's even more interesting, that they would wait for me to open the session. They actually never waited for me anymore. They just all barged into the room and held each other's hands, and they would just stand in a circle and do the exact exercise as an opening and closing of the session. So it was amazing to see that. So yes, dance movement therapy is effective on a non-verbal level, definitely, and on a verbal level too, if you want to share your experiences with others. Do we have anything else on the slides? Okay, I just wanted to mention one more thing, since Tracy, you mentioned that you're a psychomotor therapist. So anyone could get a degree in dance movement therapy. If you're interested, let me know. I could connect you with my own supervisor, and you can start your own therapy pathway, dance movement therapy degree or certification with them. It's an Italian school. So most of the time it's online, but you can also travel to Italy or in Egypt, because we're also are creating a foundation there, an association. Unfortunately, we tried to create one in Lebanon, but we're very, we're a small number of individuals that are certified in dance movement therapy. But again, if you are a psychomotor therapist, a speech therapist, an occupational therapist, or psychologist, you definitely can register for a degree. And that's about it. That's DMT for you. Any questions? Feel free to ask whatever you want to. I'm here for that for the next couple of 10 minutes or 5 minutes. Does anyone have any questions? If not, do you have any feedback, or did you have anything, a take-home message? What did you learn from this workshop? I really want to hear from you guys.
I think DMT is relatively, like you said, new. So like not a lot of people know about it. Like not a lot of people are aware about the fact that dance movement therapy actually is a thing. So I think, maybe learning a bit more about the technicalities of it was very eye-opening, especially the distinction between dancing and dance movement therapy. I think it was very important to touch on that.
All right, thank you, Lynn.
And Jan in the chats also saying that it was also definitely very new to her, but she's happy to look into it further.
Yes, and if anyone is interested in a dance movement therapy session, we'll definitely have one soon, and it's open for the public. So keep an eye out. We're probably going to post it on a Be Brave Beirut page. Let me write this out for you. So Be Brave Beirut on Instagram. Give us a follow. We have lots of services, lots of workshops happening as well. And live, so you can learn a lot, and we'll definitely be shedding more light on dance movement therapy as a whole, and other holistic approaches like drama therapy, art therapy, music therapy, and so forth.
All right, so if no one has any questions for Ray or for me, you can feel free to leave the session. Thank you all so much for joining. I hope you enjoyed the information that we presented to you today. And I'll see you all soon. Thank you, Ray, so much for talking about DMT with me today. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you, Lynn, for having me, and thank you guys for attending. Hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. Can Nai and Alice ask you a question? If anyone is interested, they can stay. If not, we can wait till the end.
It's fine. You can go ahead and ask.
Okay. I will introduce a little bit. Me and Tracy worked in an institution that take care of person who have mental delay.